Welcome to Dementia Friendly Prince George's County, Maryland Northern Sector webinar series for caregivers. Today's topic is Masterful Moves, sponsored by Prince George's County Government and the Department of Family Services.
Without any further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome and introduce our panelists. Our first panelist is Marcy Jacobs. She earned her degree in audiology in 1991. She has worked in a variety of settings over the years. Jacobs Audiology was established in 2001 out of a passion to offer patients specialized individual care. Next, we have Catherine Farzan. For the past 2 years, Catherine has been an action team member on the Dementia Friendly Prince George's County Northern Sector team. She provides memory-related information to caregivers, screenings, and resource linkage to at-risk communities in Northern Prince George's County. Next, we have Tony Anthony Prosciutto, or he's otherwise known as Tony. Tony received his BA from the University of Maryland, College Park in 2006, and his Juris Doctorate from the University of Maryland, Baltimore School of Law in 2009. He clerked for the Honorable Nicholas E. Bertal in the Circuit Court of Prince George's County, and he was an assistant public defender in Charles County. He then worked in private practice to help injured workers obtain benefits from Maryland Workmen's Compensation Commission, and worked in the district and circuit courts in protecting creditors' rights and other breach of contract debt collection cases. Now, with Byrd Byrd, he focuses on elder law and estate planning. Our last presenter is Tracy Nelsnick, Community Liaison at Visiting Angels in Largo, Maryland, Membership Chairperson for the Prince George's Senior Provider Network, volunteer with the Alzheimer's Association, friend, member, and screener for the Dementia Friendly America. I welcome all of our panelists, and now I'll turn it over to Tracy.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, we're going to meet the Walters family. They have provided a scenario for us to, if you will, dissect, and we're going to just dive right in. Mr. and Mrs. Walters have always enjoyed hosting the family for Thanksgiving. The tradition includes football, food, board games, shopping, market shooting, and the annual visit to the Christmas
Guys,
tree.
I'm recording, so you cannot say anything, okay?
The weekend-long celebration always concludes with the lighting of the Christmas tree. As planned, their daughter and her family of 3 arrive on Wednesday afternoon. Their son and his family of 4 arrive at dinner time, and Mrs. Walters has everything under control. The table is set, pies are baked, the turkey's brining, the bedrooms are ready for guests. The Walters are in a festive mood and genuinely happy to see their family. Mr. Walters was a little more reserved than usual, but assisted with unloading the cars and helped everyone get settled. After a quick paper plate dinner of pizza and salad, another tradition, the activity and the noise level seemed to overwhelm and frustrate Mr. Walters. No one was surprised when he retreated alone to the den. The family had noticed the same behavior while on vacation at the beach this summer. Individually, the family recognized signs of aging in Mr. Walters, but they were reluctant to broach the subject. Surprisingly, and to everyone's relief, it was Mr. Walters who realized the time was perfect to have the talk, as his wife and adult children were present. He was very candid about the challenges and the frustrations he was experiencing, and he expressed a need to find out exactly what was happening so that together the family could prepare for the future. The Thanksgiving weekend is now a fond memory, and the tree is a beauty, especially when lit. Thank you to the Walters family for sharing their experience with us. We're going to have our panelists jump in after reading and understanding the scenario, and have them point out what stands out from their professional perspective and make some recommendations. So, Jacobs, go right ahead.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
All right, good. I'm sorry, my line was crackling. So in the scenario that was just read to you, when Mr. Walters were treated when the noise level got too high, this can be a symptom of hearing loss. It's common when someone has hearing issues to want to isolate themselves out of fear of having to repeatedly say what, or even worse, sometimes responding inappropriately to something that somebody has said. A few common symptoms of hearing loss include that isolation and asking people to repeat themselves, answering inappropriately, increasing the TV volume, and difficulty talking on the phone. People with hearing loss, they rely heavily on visual cues, like watching lips and faces, and speaking on the phone can make it impossible. And another challenge we're facing now, people wearing face masks. This is really bringing hearing challenges to light even earlier for some people with undiagnosed hearing loss. It's interesting, people get yearly physicals, they get their cholesterol checked, they go to the dentist, but annual hearing tests are just as important, and people are very social by nature. And, you know, hearing loss can make you feel very isolated. It's also very important to know that research is showing a very strong link between hearing loss and a decline in cognition. Whenever a hearing loss or a cognitive issue are suspected, a hearing test is critical. And if the hearing test is given and it's normal, then you'll know that the issue may be neurological and you'll take the appropriate steps in that direction. If a hearing loss is found, then it must be treated with hearing aids. And with the hearing loss now corrected, you can see, do the behaviors change at all? If it is a memory issue and other challenges are still present, then you can pursue that avenue.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Marcy. Catherine, we're going to move to you now. What
Hello,
is
everyone.
here?
So some of the things that I observed overall, the family experience was a positive one. Everyone was enjoying themselves. However, the family members recognized changes in Mr. Walters' behavior. You can see that the family's unsure if Mr. Walters is experiencing normal signs of aging or if it's something more. It wasn't until Mr. Walters opened up about the challenges and frustrations he was experiencing that the family realized, hey, I think Dad needs a plan of support. We need to plan better for the future, not just for their father, but also their mother, because it seems that that may also be affecting her, and she may have her own set of challenges that she has to deal with. So some of the recommendations that DFA would make would be to provide and identify resources in the community that are available nearest to Mr. and Miss Walters. An excellent place to start would be the DFA resource website. It provides a variety of resources from arts and cultural activities to caregivers and caregiving to legal resources and advanced planning and more. Specifically, what DFA North Prince George's County does also is we go around and perform several memory cafes and memory support groups. In addition to that, we also do memory screenings during health fairs or other health-related events. It's a simple, safe evaluation tool that provides a brief memory assessment, and it can indicate whether an additional checkup is needed by a qualified healthcare professional, so a primary care doctor, your physician, geriatric doctor. DFA we also offer in-person memory screenings in the office at we also work through the City of Greenbelt Municipal Building, so we accept appointments there. But due to COVID-19, we are only offering what is given online through the Alzheimer's Foundation of America website. Very easy, user-friendly tests that you can do online. And the website is afamemorytest.com. And also, if you can see my slide, I also have provided where to find the resources on dfamerica.org/resources.
Thank you so much. Great information. And panelist number 3, Tony from Byrd. What is your perspective?
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. So first of all, this evening, I'd really want to applaud Mr. Walters in this scenario for recognizing now was a good time for him to have this discussion with his family. And regardless of whether he's starting to experience some symptoms of dementia or hearing loss, he's recognizing that something is going on with him regarding his aging and what's going on in his life. When he has this talk, he really should be talking with all of the family and coming up with some game plans about his care looking forward. Right now, he is healthy and he has capacity, and it is his opportunity to really build a plan with the family. And he can do that by creating really excellent powers of attorney. And there are 2 types, both a financial power of attorney and a medical power of attorney. Creating these documents, either using a lawyer, many lawyers, including Byrd Byrd, are doing this remotely now, or using some of the county's resources. Even the Attorney General's office has some of these documents that are available as well. But creating these powers of attorney to let people know who he wants managing his finances, how he wants his healthcare managed, and putting that in an actionable plan that his loved ones can rely on, and doing that in a way, in a legal manner, where they'll have authority to manage his care is really important. He can do this with the medical power of attorney by adding an advance directive, explaining the way he wants his health care to be managed. Doing this in advance is exceedingly important because if he doesn't, his loved ones are left guessing and oftentimes going to court to have a lengthy proceeding called a guardianship, where they're then asking the court to appoint them and give them that legal authority. So him having this talk, his next step is to go and actually put that plan into action. I would also advise anybody in these circumstances that if they're starting to look at signs of aging and putting plans in place to care, to not be surprised by the expense of care. Skilled nursing care in Maryland really does exceed $9,000 a month locally. There are certainly lesser levels of care, such as assisted living and independent living. But given that high cost, having a plan in place, whether it's long-term care insurance, looking at the finances with the financial advisor and deciding if you're able to self-pay, or seeing what you need to do to protect assets and be prepared to ever rely on Medicaid, or even some combination of all of those things, is tremendously important. Thank you, Tracy.
Absolutely. What an eye-opening figure there, exceeding $9,000 a month. Ooh, it's a little steep, I'd say. From poor Mrs. Walters is where I would like to start. Mrs. Walters ran around almost like a chicken with her head chopped off, trying to get all of this done, while Mr. Walters, while caring for him as well. So my first question would be, what if something happens to the caregiver? Is there a backup plan? We know that the children are out of town because they came to stay with them with the car packed. So one of the things that I would suggest is have a backup plan. A lot of the agencies, a lot of the home care agencies in the area have respite care available. And that's for any caregiver that needs a short-term break so that they can get away, rejuvenate, or even heal if they've had a procedure or if they've had an accident, injury, illness. Home care, activities of daily living, such as personal care, dressing, grooming, bathing, meal preparation, medication, and exercise reminders. We can also provide errands and shopping and light housekeeping. Those types of services it requires a dedicated person. It requires somebody who has a caring heart You don't just want somebody showing up. So any qualified agency should have a license. They should be bonded. They should be insured. Please make sure when you are shopping around for home care services that you inspect the credentials. Another option would be a personal assistant companion, which is also available through home care agencies. And basically that type of an individual, again, would provide a little bit of a relief for Mrs. Walters, because we could accompany Mr. Walters maybe to activities or appointments, even special family gatherings, so that the caregiver can kind of take a break from those duties. So that's where I would go with it, and figuring out the next step, basically. Sharon.
Okay. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks so much, Tracy. And thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your perspectives on the scenario about the Walters family. And here is information on how our participants can get in touch with each of our panelists. And the next two slides will just cover some additional resources that Dementia Friendly has to offer. Dementia Friendly also offers virtual support groups, a monthly or a quarterly newsletter, and the YouTube channel that we have. We'll send that link out, and then some additional resources and information that you all can access. And there was also an additional resource provided for masks that are clear, that if someone who is hard of hearing, because it's clear, you'll still be able to see their lips moving. So we'll send that link out to the participants as well. Okay, and I want to again thank the panelists for providing their commentary. And give me just one second.